Who are you? When someone asks me that question, I've always absent-mindedly defaulted to a superficial answer. I describe myself as a weeb, an aspiring YouTuber, an amateur writer, and a college student studying cybersecurity and network engineering. Those handful of adjectives sound more like a resume than anything else, except for maybe the weeb part. But an answer like that wouldn't really bother most people or leave them dissatisfied, despite it barely identifying who I am as a person. However, when I look in the mirror and ask myself the same question, I'm only left with more questions. It's a lot easier to answer the question, who do I want to be, than it is to answer, who am I? The reflection I've always seen is the same. It is my face, even if it's unclear what that actually entails. When others look at me, they don't see that same face. What they see is whatever mask I wear around them. Everyone uses masks in this way. It's only natural. You may act a certain way around someone because it's comfortable, or out of respect, or for various other reasons. Yet, even if it is a natural thing that I know everyone experiences, after finally grasping an understanding of the different masks I wore, I no longer saw my own familiar face in the mirror. When I asked myself, who am I? Instead of being left with a listless amount of questions that might have led me to an answer, I was left with nothing. I couldn't answer it. And when I asked myself, who do I want to be? My answer was always, I want to be someone who knows their own face. With the help of Bloom Into You, I was able to escape that trap I had fallen into. I found out my true answer to both of those questions. For a long time, I was agnostic and extremely indifferent on the inside. I was that way because, for that period of time, I wanted to be that way. I realized the extreme lengths I was going to become emotionless and careless of others, and grew to hate that part of myself. It was an unhealthy aspiration, but my hatred was just as unhealthy. I still wince at the word indifference, no matter what context it's used in, because of the remnants of my frustrations. The masks I wore around everyone became an escape from that part of me, while also pleasing those around me. It was, in my eyes, a win-win. So, I lived my life by those masks, and ignoring the problem at hand. With my indifferent self, I related a lot to you, and with my self-hatred, I related a lot to Toko. In all that I've talked about Bloom Into You, I've hardly given much attention to any of the characters aside from Sayaka. Even more than that, I haven't discussed much about Toko. In reality, her character played a large part in pushing me to change. Toko lived her entire life to become her sister, although unbeknownst to her, she was only becoming the mask her sister wore around her. She wore a mask of the same cheery, dependable, determined, hardworking, and perfect person around her classmates, her family, and even her friends. She eventually met you and fell in love with her, but she didn't want those feelings to be returned. She couldn't stand the thought of you loving the part of herself that she hated and used the mask to escape from. Toko hated the face she had beneath all of those masks, and was terrified to reveal it to anyone except for you. Unlike you, she knew who she was, but the person she wanted and strived to be was an unhealthy extreme of a once humble aspiration like myself. It wasn't until the performance of the student council play that she was able to stop using her masks as an escape and learn to love the self that she had once hated. Only You Know was about a girl who lost her memories and had to decide on one of the masks to adopt as her personality. She wore different masks around her lover, her classmates, and her family, just like Toko. In the rewritten ending of the play, she decided on becoming her own person, and learned to love who she was without regard to the masks her previous self may have worn. Neo Nakatani wrote Only You Know as a foil to Toko's character arc, meant to emphasize how Toko overcame her self-hatred. The title of the play, Only You Know, illustrates that only you know the answer to the question, who am I? You have to answer it for yourself. I felt relieved when Toko finally found her passion for acting and her love for you that could guide her to an answer. It helped me feel more confident that I could one day change myself for the better. Through Toko's story, I was able to accept the part of me that I had hated for so long and explore myself as a person. I finally had the motivation to better my flaws rather than just escape from them. I felt like I had overcome something along with Toko at the end of the manga. There was always part of me that I've hated. To this day, I'm haunted by the problems it has caused me in my life. I've accepted it as part of who I am as a human being, but I still don't particularly like it. Every single day is a struggle for me to desire connection with others in any form. Once I force myself to actually establish bonds and upkeep relationships, I thoroughly enjoy it. I just lack the proper motivation to reach out to anyone most of the time. It's honestly really discouraging, hearing a voice within me sigh when someone messages me or wants to have a conversation. I'm often tempted to just ignore texts or calls I get from my friends, which is the primary reason I still turn away from the idea of romance. As awful as it sounds, I am uninterested in romance simply because I don't want someone to constantly want to communicate with me every single day. I strive to overcome that part of me with each passing moment, and Bloom Into You has shown me that self-hatred would only hold me back from progress. Yu was similarly incapable of falling in love. She was frustrated with that part of her, so she made efforts to change it. She had a desire to change herself for the better, unlike Toko and I. Yu didn't use any masks to run away from or ignore her problems or self-hatred. She found someone she truly cared for. That care eventually blossomed into love. Her desire to learn what love was, and her discovery of it, lying in the person closest to her, gave me the courage to at least make attempts to find it for myself. As I mentioned in my video, A Longing for Connection, my projection onto you reunited me with my desire for interpersonal connections, and inched me somewhat closer to reuniting with my desire for love. No one can answer the question, who are you, other than yourself. After all, no matter what you do, you'll end up acting at least slightly differently around everyone, even the closest people to you. Those masks aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're quite honestly a necessity. Those masks are a part of who you are. They aren't separate from you. They're more like different sides of your face than other masks. Just as Toko learned to love the self she once hated, you must love every single part of yourself. That includes the you while you're alone, around your friends, around your family, around your lover, and around strangers. Similarly to how you avoided hatred, even if part of yourself frustrates you, you must accept it as a flaw and overcome it. Using masks to ignore your true face that lies beneath them is no better than hating everything about yourself. Acceptance is essential to understanding who you are, and understanding who you are is essential to change. In order to be who you want to be, you must first remove the masks and change your face. Every time I write a script for Bloom Into You, it seems as if I'm always pulled back to my roots. I've tried for several scripts to write more in the style of my other videos, rather than a personal narrative. but it never really feels right. For this script, I think I was able to make a hybrid of my usual brief thematic analysis through a lens, along with a brief personal narrative. Let me know what you thought of it, and if you want to see more videos like this one for other anime. It's been a long ride with this series. I released my first video on it 10 months ago, which is just crazy to think about. Bloom Into You really has helped me through a lot. I've learned a lot about myself in this journey and the world around me. As much as I love Bloom, I want to move on to other anime, and I'm honestly out of ideas. If I get another idea, I might make another video. But until that day comes, take this as the finale to the journey. If you want to watch the rest of my essays on Bloom Into You, or my essays on my indifference and journey through it, I'll link a playlist for both in the description. Thank you all so much for joining me on this wonderful ride, and I'll see you all in the next video.